Okay. Hello, everybody. Nice to see you again. My name is Miłosz Zieliński from Cracow University of Technology, and I'm sorry because unfortunately it will be just me as a chairman, because unfortunately Professor Albert Fekete wasn't able to join us. But okay, let's start. First of all, I would like to introduce Daixin from College of Architecture and Urban Planning, Tongji University. And I can see Daixin is with us. So hello, nice to see you. And the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. I will share my screen. So can you see my presentation now?
Yes, we can see, thank you.
Okay, first I will also thank the organizer to invite me to give a presentation in such a very interesting topic. And my title, you can see, I will also talking about the biodiversity, but this time we are in a rural landscape. Actually, it is also a pilot project still in a research stage, and also a teaching program with our graduate students. The location is in Shanghai, a city in China, and we are focused on Shuiku village. You can also call it the reservoir village, but actually there is no reservoir there. And first I will also, that's the content of my presentation, I will go directly to my content. That's first I will introduce that the rural landscape actually is a typical cultural landscape in the e-commerce in 2017. There is a paper also indicated that all the rural area can be interpreted as a heritage. And because of its characteristic, it can provide ecological service, cultural support, and economic benefits for social development. And everyone knows what's biodiversity, and now the current situation is really not good. So how to protect it, it's actually a serious problem. In China, we are really focused on the biodiversity conservation. For example, last year, China released the white paper to entitled as the Biodiversity Conservation in China, and also we hold the CAUP 15 in Yunnan Province, Kunming City. And so also now China is also released a lot of policy to how to say, we call it the revitalization of the rural area, especially the villages. So we also learned some international experience of our planning and design in the rural area. But actually the rural area is also many it's dangerous to how to say, to affect the protection of the biodiversity. Its secondary natural existence affected by human activity, but we also can see the similarities of the agriculture production and the biodiversity conservation. So our question is how to coordinate the rural biodiversity conservation and also the high quality and the low pollution agricultural productions. And I will say also something about our site. Our site is here. Actually, it's a small pitch of this. We call it the country park. Actually, here is the limit of Shanghai city. Is the downtown. It's much bigger city in China, and our site is far away from the downtown and located in a country park. And the the country park is actually a policy of China to protect the or use the how to say the resource based on a rural area. And here is our site in the green color, and you can see there is many country parks close to our site, also some of tourist resorts. And another one is in our site, actually it's also in a very important, we call it migrate, it's for the bird, migrate corridor of the world. And also is a very important node of the municipal ecological corridor in Shanghai. It's our site, it's Shanghai. You can see it's green corridors. So it's very important here. And our site is also here. It's a very light, how to say, line. Maybe it's not very obvious, but here is the country park. We also analyze the corridor inside the country park, and we found that our site is also in the northeast of the our corridors in the country park. So it's very important actually to our location and to our site. We also do some analysis of the ecological element. You can see here there is a six typical habitat we have found in our site. Actually, here is the Shuiku village. And also, due to the area of the element, we can see the main two elements is the water and the farmland, just like maybe, like many villages, but because, the villager is bounded of the water here. And we also do an investigation of the biodiversities based on what the East China Normal University team. And here you can see it's the different seasons of the, different kind of species in the Shuiku villages, and also the habitat and the bird distribution, and also all kinds of species statistics. Here is all kind of plants, and here it's about the insects, amphibians, and the birds species. You will find all kinds of species in Shuiku villages. Actually, it's a lot of animals here. And also we choose the indicator species to do our analysis further. We choose the two kinds of species. One is white-winged birds, another one is amphibians, just frogs. So we analyze the how to say distributions of birds around our site. Actually, here you can see the distribution map of the two kinds of birds, and all the activities will performed different kind of landscape here, and also the same analysis of maybe 5 frogs. Here is some data of 3 kind of frogs, and in their because he's a shorter lifespan, so we will analyze the different stage in his life, and they perform the different kind of landscape here. So we know the habitat of the indicator species, so we can analyze the spatial dimension of the distribution of the birds and frogs based on the habitat suitability. Also indicate the threat resource from produce human interventions and recreations. It's also the same analysis to frogs. So we can have a synthesis, how to say, analysis of the suitability of the frogs and the birds in Shuiku villages. And also, we also analysis in the time dimensions. That means all kinds of vegetations and fruits we will plant in the Shuiku villages. The activities will also, influence the frogs and the birds' life. So we are considered about the crops distribution and the planting time in Shuiku villages to consider if it will influence the frog's breed and also hibernation in December and the time of the hibernate. Here is our research of the site. Based on the research, we also put out our design strategies. First of all, is our version of the home planning and design. We want to build a rural country park integrated. We call it the triple E, means ecology, economy, and also enjoyment. And also we put forward our conceptual idea, means we call it the resonance with nature, and it will divide it from triple E dimensions, and also developed 5 zones in the home area. You can see the spatial planning of the whole villages, including 2 networks. We call it green and blue networks, and the 5 zones here, different kind of colors indicate the different zones. Based on the principle of analysis of the present state of the land use and also the habitat quality, just as I introduced, and also the planning of Shuiku village. That means the need or demand from the people. So that's also the principles of the zoning. And another one is we also developed the toolbox to implement all our solutions to the problems. It's the logic of the toolbox. Actually, we considered from different scale, from the village to zone, and also to the local, to the small land use scale. And you can identified the site problems and also the parameter of the problems, and also we will think about the tools to resolve the problems. Here is also, here is just the logic of our toolbox development. And here is the matrix of the whole modules of our toolbox. It's kind of complicated, but you can see here, actually, it can conclude different kind of functions. Here is the main body of different kind of modules, and we think there is 5 functions of our design modules to deal with different kind of problems from the 3 to triple E, and the 4th one, it will control the environmental pollutions. It will work as an auxiliary module, and the last one is to build a network. It worked as a connecting element, so it formed such kind of our toolbox matrix. And also we will consider how the modules of our toolbox to to locate it in our spatial spaces. We call it the topological relationship. So it's kind of a diagram how to use different kind of tools, or maybe the modules in different kind of zones. You can see the different colors stand for different function zones, and the small box is also different design modules. And here is our actually diagrams for each modules. For example, here is the connection strategies. and the section of the strategies, and the second one is the water and green strategies. And here is also we developed all the different kind of the small solutions according to the location of the sections. And the third one is the environmental governance strategies. It means how we to manage our environment based on the water treatment module combinations, different kind of wetland and hydrology circulations. And the last one is our consideration of the agricultural strategies. It also means, it means how we use the, consider the different time of the agricultural planting activities during the different seasons, just based on our research of the time dimension to the influence of the planting activity to the animals. And here is the different month of our mixture agricultural methodologies that combine the rice, fish, and duck together. And there is different activities in the different months. We think about how it will, influence our, protection of the diversities. And the last one is our rendering of a design scheme. Use our toolbox. Each one is kind of a toolbox. We can really use it in a real scenario. Here is just one rendering of a space. So come to the summary. That is our project indicates that the conservation of biodiversity is contribute to the resilience of a rural landscape. And in our case, the birds and the amphibians are the important indicator species of the rural landscape. We researched the habitat suitabilities of the indicator species and also identified the main problems from the spatial and temporal dimensions at Shuiku villages. The last one is we developed the toolbox for rural planning and design based on the research of the biodiversity enhancement. Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Daixin, for your presentation. And maybe as a summary, I may say a very simple conclusion. In the past, I mean in historical way, villages were surrounding cities. Now, cities are surrounding villages, or villages
Okay.
are part of cities. So due to this enormous urbanization and maybe even globalization, it is so important to protect, first of all, biodiversity and for sure increase. So thank you very much again. And now it's time for Valentino Cristi from Mendel University in Brno. Hello. Hello, Valentino.
Hi, everybody. I'm here.
The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I will try to share my presentation. Can you see it? Wonderful.
Yes, go on. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. My name is Valentino Cristini. Hi, everybody. I'm a researcher at the Mendel University in Brno. Normally, I work and focused on the biological deterioration of food and the impact of food decay fungi on tree stability in the urban environment. Today, I want to present you in this really short time a short interview about the tree conservation in the urban environment. We will be most focused on mature trees. because as it was proposed and told by different presenters before me, as Martin or Wojtek. So we know that mature trees, they present so much more benefits than the young new planted trees. But of course, even if it is a more technical presentation, it has a main philosophical aim, maybe to start to apply a new approach and a new point of view to tree benefits and tree risk assessment approach. The first question is why? That's my favorite question. And sometimes it's the easiest, but also the hardest question to answer. And if we want to conserve and preserve trees in the urban environment, of course, we remember benefits. And when we talk about benefits, the main one that everybody know, and it was used really often in the last few years in politics and in public conversation and communication, it's the cooling effect. Of course, it's the most common, it's the most visual one, but we shall not forget that there are many benefits proposed by trees in the urban environment. We are talking not just about the cooling effect, about benefits for other natural species present in the urban environment, without which we wouldn't be able to survive on a long term of sustainability. And of course, their direct effect on us, on a physical and also psychological level. Of course, we have trees in the urban environment. They don't need us. They are here some time longer than us. If we consider that Homo sapiens is present on this world from the last 200,000 years, it's like a drop of water in the whole sea. So we need them to survive, but they don't need us. But of course, because we want them to survive in our environment, to have a coexistence with them, we need to take care of them. We need to manage them. And if we look at this graph, we can see that with a long-term management, with a continual management from planting through all the different physiological phases, we can obtain another amount of benefits from trees than without it. And of course, the management is not done just at a certain time. No, management is continual. Of course, every time we talk about trees, we are talking about the long-term management. And just through this long-term management, we can achieve the maximalization of benefits that we can get from that certain tree. If you look at this, we can see that without management, we really often, we cannot reach the last physiological phase, which is the anciency. We are talking about ancient veteran trees. They are pretty rare in the urban environment, and then we will talk about it later on a short term, that they are so much important for us, mostly for because of the benefits that they give, not just to us, but also to other different living species. Another really important question is how. How do we manage to take care of these trees? How do we manage to maximize the amount of benefits that we can get from these trees? Of course, there are different methods, and of course, this is an international conference, and I think one of our main aims, not just in arboriculture, but about the green care or green management field, is to set a basic level for different countries, not just on European level, but just on a global level. To reach this goal, we started in 2018 with a project which was called European Arboricultural Standards. Within this project, 11 different countries worked together to develop 3 main international arboricultural standards for tree pruning, tree cabling and bracing, and tree planting. Of course, you can visit there free to download, free accessible. If you look at the link on the slide, you can take a look at them, you can download them, and of course, you can share and use them as you want to. Into the standards, you can see different new point of views to these 3 main technical problematics concerning tree management and tree care in the urban environment. We are talking about, for example, a different approach for tree pruning through this specific tree pruning matrix, as you can see in this slide, where we combine the final image. So if you want to reach a semi-natural tree, or if you want to shape the tree to fit in that certain environment, and according to the problem that we have and the conflict that we have between the tree and the environment that the tree is living within, and according to the physiological phase of the tree at that certain moment, we can find the right intervention, the right pruning that we should apply to that certain tree. New important points of view were added to cabling and bracing systems, also to consider the different dynamic behavior and dynamic response of the tree among the wall height of the crown, and also different load bear capacity of the installed cabling according to the angle of the anchorage. That was one of the most important things during the development of European standards, is that of course in Europe, if we compare ourselves with, for example, the US, we have an enormous heterogeneity of cultures and history. Thanks to that, each country in the last few years, in the last 20 years, specified or worked mostly in one specific field. As for example, Czech Republic, Germany mostly focused on tree safety and tree stability. The Netherlands mostly focused on, for example, soil properties and so on. But just by putting all our ideas together and by combining our different point of views that were developed according to our different history and our different cultures, we were able to reach a general consensus that can be applied in all European countries who took part of the project. Of course, it is a living project, so there are right now different countries applying and being added to the working team, also because they wanted to translate the standards to their national language. Of course, if there is some of us who would want to translate the standards to your own national language, don't hesitate afterward also to contact me. I can send you the contact to discuss this problematic. But of course, we gain benefits from the trees, but the thing that we shall not forget is that trees, at a certain point, they represent a certain risk. Why? Because they're not buildings. They are not projected by us. They are not, their stability is not overloaded, and they are living in a dynamic environment. And of course, the tree, as a living organism, it's also a dynamic environment by itself. So of course, sometimes it's really hard to find the right balance between benefits and risk. Of course, the best way to do it is through prevention. We are human. Sometimes it's really hard to resolve a problem before it happened. And unfortunately, normally we used to solve problem after something bad happened in the past. But the best thing that we can do is to prevent the occasion of risk, to prevent any damage that can be caused by trees, mature trees in the urban environment. For this purpose, we have different technologies and different detailed tree stability assessment methods that we can use to have a better representation and to have a better estimation of tree stability in the urban environment. One of these, it's acoustic tomography, where through the velocity of sound, through a certain cross-section that we want to measure, we can obtain an image reconstruction of the cross-section with a quietly trustworthy image reconstruction of the cross-section. Also, according to that, then we can calculate the stability of the tree according to the intact part of the cross-section that we measured. Other technologies, for example, drill resistance. And through that, we measure the resistance of the wood through drilling, and with a lower resistance, normally corresponds to the presence of decay on that certain line of drilling, as you can see on the left side on this slide. Or for example, we have pulling tests, where we artificially pull the tree, we simulate the force of the wind of the crown, and we measure the inclination on the root plate and the deformation of the stem, so we can calculate the possibility of the tree of uprooting and stem breakage. But the problem is that we cannot really eliminate the risk. Of course, we can completely eliminate the risk, but we would fell all the trees that we have in the urban environment. And that's not what we do. That's not what we want to do. Because of course we know, and in the last few years, I think that the knowledge of benefits that we gain from trees increased extremely exponentially. So our main aim is not to eliminate the risk. That's the main problem. Then our main aim is to obtain the right balance between benefits that we gain from standing trees, from mature trees in the urban environment, and the risk that we want to accept. Of course, we accept any kind of risk during every daily routine. As for example, when I get to my job by a car, it's a risk because nobody's telling me that I will survive the travel, but I want to take that risk. And that's the same approach that we should apply to trees. They will never be completely safe because nothing is completely safe. So we can see that if we do not manage trees in the urban environment, of course, from a certain point, we are really low risk to the semi-mature and to the beginning of the mature phase, where the tree is not still has not big dimensions, still they don't have wide decays in the stem. Yeah, I can't hear you. I can't hear you.
Sorry, the time is over, so I would like to ask you to approach to the conclusion. Okay?
Yeah. That's the will be the last slide.
Okay, thank you.
This is already the last slide. As of course, to the management, we can reduce the risk to a certain point, but not eliminate it, and we can still preserve the benefits. Of course, if we look at the phase of ancient trees, we can see an enormous increase of the risks, but also an enormous increase of the benefits because of their rare presence in the urban environment, and also because their benefits are not just for us and for them, but also for different living organisms also protected in the urban environment that we wouldn't have if it wasn't because of them. Thank you very much for your time and for your invitation.
Thank you very much. It was very, very interesting. I just want to say to you, everybody, that we have a chat. So if you have questions for the speakers, please use chat. This is very great opportunity to have a contact with speakers. And now, due to various circumstances, we have to change a little bit the program. And now I would like to ask Mr. Gabriel Dantas from University, Agricultural University, Hungarian University, and then after that another presentation. So Gabriel, the floor is yours. Please go on.
Hello, thank you for the introduction. Can you hear me?
Yes, everything is okay.
Yes, you can also see my presentation, hopefully.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, so let me just enlarge it. Yeah, so basically I'm gonna try to be concise in time since we are overdue. So my topic today is adaptation of historic buildings for promotion of urban resilience in Ferencváros, which is a neighborhood of Budapest. The presentation is divided into these 6 sections, which follow pretty much the traditional workflow. However, in the end, I would like to share a little bit of experiments, further experiments which we developed with this methodology. And as an introduction, I just locate the case study zone, which you can see here in the map, highlighted in red. And I just would like to mention very shortly that it's well aware around the world that the cities are facing now issues with sustainability And in our understanding, for the perspective of this paper, we believe that the reconstruction of the city center that exists in urban city centers has a very important value in the process of sustainability and in the providing outcomes as an outcome more livable and more integrated cities. So which may result also in more resilient urban environments. So then when we talk about Budapest, it's important to mention the political disruption which happens in the 90s. And throughout the period of the transition of the regime from the socialist to the market-oriented regime, we could see huge impact, especially on this neighborhood, which we are analyzing as a case study. And well, the municipality of this district proposed urban renewal, and through the implementation of urban green infrastructure mainly. Of course, other tools were utilized, but the most highlighted mechanism for the restructuration was the implementation of urban green infrastructure. And nowadays we can also spot social transformation in this place. In this research, we also evaluate the comparative framework. So we established this comparison with neighboring districts, which are going through similar transformation, but through a completely different orientation. So these transformations are not socially oriented. So we can see that the motivation is mainly profit oriented. And for this reason, we can state that the green infrastructure, for example, or the access to green public areas is far away. It's completely different than what we see in the 9th district of Budapest, for instance. So it's much less accessible and much less integrated in general. So here you can see also, like if you can see in the left hand side of the screen, this GIF showing the transformation, the implementation of green infrastructure. I don't want to focus too much into this because this methodology is not the methodology we analyze in this research. But the one we used is a typological study. So we went through, these maps are provided by the municipality from 1995 and from 2007. And with the bare eyes, you can see already the increase in urban green areas. You can see here in the downer part, most of these green areas are public parks, like even new public park was implemented in the area. The implementation was realized in steps, and they call the first selected areas, they call it graft centers, where the problematics, the social problems were more intense, and they wanted to start the implementation through these points. And here I just highlighted the area where they implemented a new urban park in one of the urban blocks, which was a very typical urban block composed by derelict houses and empty plots left over by former industrial zones. And they implemented this very interesting urban park. And the methodology, as I said, was the typological assessment. So this is a table which we set up. It's divided into 4 sessions. And the first one is land use. The second one is related to commerce and service unity. The third one is only concerning residential use. And the last one is urban landscape and greenscape, which compile aspects from all the categories. So I just focused here, like just to give you an overview of what's the content of this table. In one of the sessions, the urban landscape and greenscape, for example, one of the aspects analyzed, as we can see, is the frontal setback, for example. So this source of solution was implemented in some specific areas of the district. And in case of the analyzed plot, this was they implemented this green area, which is also permeable and provides some landscape qualities for the place as well. So all of these characteristics, they were selected not by coincidence, of course, but we were very strongly basing the selection on references. And then we came up with some numbers you can see here in the map, or in these charts. So, for example, most of the sidewalks are still traditional, not permeable. However, many of them are now permeable and not leveled, for example. And we transferred this information to GIS environment to be able to make more complex analysis with different layers of information. And this is one of the outcomes. Most of the buildings are traditional with renovation taking place, and still there are many buildings to be yet transformed. So these are some images just to clarify what we are talking about. These are solutions which were implemented, for example, the open courtyards to public. So these are some green alleys, some streets, typical streets. The last one, the number 4, is the Cracow Park, which is the park I mentioned they implemented throughout the renovation process. And well, as an outcome, and the last part of this presentation is just a further experience. We call these strategies, each of these tools we mention as strategies. So solutions, actually solution types. And these solutions, we experimented with them in some of the buildings which were not renovated yet. So for example, we selected here the extension character. I won't explain specifically what each of these mean, but well, let's say access to courtyard. So like each of these solutions we implemented in different buildings just as an outcome, just as an experiment of this study. So how it would look like an existing building which could be transformed through the same tools which they used currently in the 9th district of Budapest. So for example, this one, we would like to make it accessible and common use of the courtyard, or for example, provide space for the shops in the ground floor, and so on. So in this one, for example, one of the solutions is to connect the individual courtyards or to generate more space in the frontal setback, and so on and so on. And that's it. Thank you for your time, and I really appreciate the opportunity to present here.
Yeah, thank you, Gabriel, very, very much. It was very nice to see your presentation, and thank you for keeping the time regime, especially for this. Thank you very much. And now it's time for Mistress Agnieszka and Mr. Karol Łobodzińscy. Excuse me, Woźniak, excuse me. Yeah, thank you very much for waiting. And now the floor is yours.
Witamy Państwa bardzo serdecznie. Pani Alicja Woźniak i Łukasz Woźniak. Udostępnimy prezentację. I teraz jak to zrobić?
Widać bardzo dobrze. Dziękuję.
Dobrze. Słychać nas, tak?
Widać, dziękuję.
Dobra.
Okej, witam Państwa bardzo serdecznie. Tematem, który poruszamy, tak, tutaj w Państwa gronie, jest temat związany z planowaniem przestrzennym i urbanistyką i podejściem krajobrazowym w tym planowaniu przestrzennym. Poruszymy tutaj problematykę narzędzia, tak, metody ochrony i kształtowania elementów krajobrazu kulturowego w kontekście pojęcia autentyczności przestrzeni, ponieważ przykład, który tutaj Państwu pokazujemy, jest przykładem dotyczącym zabytkowych parków i na przykładzie terenów zieleni, parków objętych ochroną konserwatorską chcielibyśmy wskazać narzędzie krajobrazowe. Tutaj pokrótku pokazujemy w punktach, co będzie obejmowała prezentacja, czyli to krótkie wprowadzenie dotyczące tematyki, problem badawczy, pojęcie tej autentyczności, wskazania polityki przestrzennej, elementów zagospodarowania przestrzennego, którym jest właśnie to narzędzie, które w ramach tej prezentacji przedstawiamy. Podsumujemy to cechami odporności i pewną metodą określania tych cech oraz podsumujemy wnioskami. Problematyka, którą poruszamy, czyli tereny zieleni zabytkowe w obszarze przestrzeni, tak, wytyczne, które jakby się pojawiają, są w kontekście Europejskiej Konwencji Krajobrazowej, która wprowadziła pewne wytyczne do zmian w całym systemie prawnym dotyczącym planowania, zagospodarowania przestrzennego, ochrony zabytków. Dała tutaj podstawowe jakby kierunkowe zmiany w myśleniu o przestrzeni, czyli zmiany pewnego podejścia od podejścia przestrzennego do krajobrazowego. Europejska Konwencja Krajobrazowa, tu tutaj na pierwszym slajdzie wskazaliśmy kilka podstawowych informacji o kierunkujących jakby myślenie, czyli zwrócenie uwagi na harmonijne relacje, na zasoby sprzyjające tworzeniu działalności gospodarczej oraz tworzenia kultur lokalnych, czyli ta Europejska Konwencja Krajobrazowa, która daje nam wytyczne i która zdefiniowała pojęcie samego krajobrazu, co skutkowało zmianami legislacyjnymi w wielu ustawach w obiegu Polski. W tym ustawy o ochronie i opiece nad zabytkami, tutaj pojawiła się definicja krajobrazu kulturowego oraz pojawiły się tak zwane zmiany cząstkowe w wielu ustawach. Europejska Konwencja Krajobrazowa nie nakierunkowała na zmiany typowo ustawowe, tylko wskazała na zmianę polityki, a tak naprawdę wprowadzenia myślenia krajobrazowego w politykę przestrzenną, w polityki szczegółowe, tak? Czyli tutaj to, co pokazujemy, czyli ta definicja, która kierunkuje myślenie, czyli polityka w zakresie krajobrazu, ale nie odrębna polityka, tylko polityka zmierzająca do zintegrowania z tymi własnymi pojedynczymi politykami, tak? Czy w zakresie planowania, czy w zakresie tak polityk szczegółowych, kulturalnych, gospodarczych czy społecznych. W przypadku przestrzeni, główna ustawa o planowaniu i zagospodarowaniu przestrzennym, podstawowy paradygmat, czyli kształtowanie ładu przestrzennego i urbanistyki, w uwzględnieniu między innymi tak, dziedzictwa kulturowego i zabytków. I tutaj pokazujemy powiązanie tej polityki krajobrazowej z polityką przestrzenną. Na przykładzie terenów zieleni użytkowej, zieleni dosyć specyficznej, ponieważ objętej dodatkowo formą ochrony konserwatorskiej jako dziedzictwo kulturowe, jako zabytek, czyli mamy połączenie trzech ustaw, trzech konkretnych działów dotyczących ochrony, gospodarowania i kształtowania krajobrazem. Takie główne pytanie, które sobie jakby stawiamy w tym momencie w kontekście konwencji krajobrazowej, w kontekście przepisów obowiązujących, to jest pytanie o autentyczność obiektów i obszarów w przestrzeni, w strukturze funkcjonalno-przestrzennej, a przede wszystkim w otoczeniu życia człowieka, czyli tej najbliższej strukturze krajobrazowej. Zabytkowe parki, które pokazujemy na przykładzie terenów zieleni urządzonej w strukturze funkcjonalno-przestrzennej, pełnią różne funkcje. W pierwszej jakby kolejności mamy to, jakby już o czym wspomniałam, funkcje główne, czyli elementy struktury funkcjonalno-przestrzennej, elementy krajobrazu kulturowego, a przede wszystkim tożsamości lokalnej. Nasz krótki studium przypadku, struktura funkcjonalno-przestrzenna wielu gmin, tereny wiejskie i elementy, czyli parki zabytkowe, które stanowią zawsze jeden z głównych elementów struktury funkcjonalno-przestrzennej. Wybraliśmy tutaj przykładowo 3 gminy, w których od kilku do kilkunastu często znajduje się terenów zieleni urządzonej, czyli parków zabytkowych, czyli o funkcjach, które w tym momencie w krajobrazie nie funkcjonują. Przykłady szczegółowe. Tutaj mamy gmina, jedna z gmin województwa, gmina Ujazd, centralnie położony park, obecnie funkcja publiczna, park zagrożony tak naprawdę z brakiem koordynacji przepisów prawnych dotyczących jego zagospodarowania. Gmina Żarnów, niecentralnie położony park, miejscowość oddalona od centrum, wierzchowisko, park zagrożony przede wszystkim utratą funkcji, w tym momencie park zabytkowy, który w najbliższym czasie zostanie jakby sprzedany, tak, zmiana nastąpi właściciela. Narzędzie polityki przestrzennej w kontekście myślenia o otoczeniu i o krajobrazie to elementy zagospodarowania przestrzennego, czyli elementy przestrzeni, które znajdują swoje odzwierciedlenie w otoczeniu, czyli stają się krajobrazem. Podstawowy element, do tej pory mało wykorzystywany, prawie znikomie w polityce przestrzennej.
Elementy zagospodarowania przestrzennego jako zbiór pewnych kardynalnych części przestrzeni, takich, które budują przestrzeń, jest właściwie nieużywany w planowaniu przestrzennym. Wszystkie zapisy o ładzie przestrzennym omijają problematykę cech tych elementów. My tutaj postanowiliśmy skupić się na terenach zieleni i zastanowić się, jakie cechy one będą mogły mieć. I te tereny zieleni są oczywiście zdefiniowane w ustawie o ochronie przyrody. Tutaj widzimy, jakie są to wymienione elementy, tak, są to parki publiczne, ogrody zabytkowe, czyli to, co nas interesowało w naszym studium przypadku. Też ustawa wskazuje, jakiego rodzaju funkcje pełnią, czyli że estetyczne, rekreacyjne, zdrowotne i osłonowe. My tutaj, analizując i diagnozując, doszliśmy do przekonania, że jest tych funkcji dużo więcej, analizując literaturę i sam problem tych parków, które analizowaliśmy. Tutaj wymieniliśmy te funkcje, które w naszym przekonaniu, w związku z tym, że planowanie przestrzenne zasadza się na idei ładu przestrzennego, tak, czyli na pewnej harmonijnej całości, która jest zbudowana z uporządkowanych relacji, uwarunkowań i wymagań, tych, które w planowaniu przestrzennym są istotne, które budują ład zintegrowany. No to tutaj wymieniliśmy te, które docelowo mają budować ten zespół elementów harmonijnych, tak, i w uporządkowanych relacjach. Następnie zastanowiliśmy się, jak w ogóle zbudowane są cechy elementu i tutaj pokazaliśmy, w jaki sposób dochodziliśmy, za pomocą jakich metod badań uzyskiwaliśmy trafność mniejszą czy większą, tak, tych cech elementu zagospodarowania przestrzennego, jakim jest zieleń. I ten autentyzm, który nam się objawił tak jako autentyzm tego elementu zagospodarowania przestrzennego, to był pewien obraz autentyczności, tak, i pewne działania autentyczne, które tam mogły być i które będą mogły być w przyszłości realizowane z tymi parkami. Jest też tak, że my to dziedzictwo odziedziczyliśmy po naszych przodkach, tak, i to dziedzictwo też będziemy musieli przekazać następnym pokoleniom zgodnie z zasadą równoważnego rozwoju. I teraz, jeżeli ten autentyzm zostanie utracony, tak, czyli jeżeli te wszystkie cechy, które dzisiaj świadczą o tym, że ten element krajobrazu, jakim jest park wiejski, podworski czy jakiś przypałacowy, tak, czy w ogóle wiejski park, zatracą te swoje funkcje, te cechy, które były istotne i które właściwie zasadzały się na tym, że ten park miał sens w zbiorze elementów zagospodarowania przestrzennego danego obszaru, danej gminy, to nie będziemy tak naprawdę mogli mówić o pewnej autentyczności, a tym samym i o odporności, bo te parki zostaną stracone.
No i tak krótko podsumowując, jakby wnioski, jakie stawiamy po tym wszystkim. Pierwsza rzecz, czyli ta zabytkowość parków, które stanowią element zagospodarowania, świadczący o autentyczności krajobrazu, dziedzictwo świadczące o tożsamości lokalnej, jeżeli mówimy tutaj przede wszystkim o poziomie lokalnym i miejscowym. Ta odporność przekształcenia zależy od roli w strukturze funkcjonalnej przestrzeni gminy oraz w krajobrazie kulturowym, czyli ta funkcja i znaczenie w teraźniejszości obiektów zabytkowych determinuje ich możliwość zagospodarowania i funkcjonowania w najbliższym czasie. Takim narzędziem jest zagospodarowanie przestrzenne, elementy zagospodarowania przestrzennego i ta nieskuteczność planistyczna, która pojawia się w ochronie terenów zieleni, to przede wszystkim niewykorzystywanie tego typu narzędzi. I ten główny nasz wniosek, który postawiliśmy na końcu jako punkt 6, czyli elementy zagospodarowania przestrzennego, które stanowią narzędzie zintegrowania krajobrazu z polityką lokalną, zgodnie z wymogami Europejskiej Konwencji Krajobrazowej.
Co zmierza zgodnie z zasadą, z ideą ładu przestrzennego do tworzenia harmonijnych przestrzeni, harmonijnych całości. Dziękujemy za uwagę.
Dziękujemy.
Ja również serdecznie Państwu dziękuję i jeszcze raz przepraszam za pomyłkę przy przedstawianiu Państwa. Okay, thank you very much once again. And now, last not but least, Cracow University of Technology, Agnieszka Matusik and Karol Zieliński. I can see you, so the floor is yours.
Thank you. Sorry. Okay. So we can.
Everything is okay. Yes, you can go on. Thank you.
Yes. So our topic is modeling of a heat island effect based on the UTCI factor in the areas of cultural heritage, on the example of the historic district of Kazimierz in Cracow. Next, please.
Did you see the new one? Did you see it full screen? Sorry.
No, not full screen.
You don't see it full screen? Okay. Please let me. Okay, let me connect this. Okay, so it will be new one. Okay, now?
No.
No. Does it work now?
Okay,
Yes,
okay,
it
it's
does.
working. Okay.
Okay, I'm sorry.
As we all know, the heritage protected areas are under great pressure of climate changes, but also under pressure of population density. We would like to focus on our research on the thermal comfort of users and how to create a resilient urban landscape in the situation of the protected areas when we cannot easily make a deeper implementation of elements we can change the quality of this thermal comfort. And here we would like to focus mainly on the squares, which in the situation of increasing density of, for example, touristic movement, are working in this especially during the day as a heat island. And next, please. We would like to investigate if we can change the situation. We ask some few research questions, like, is it possible to reduce heat island effect through mobile greenery to make it softer? What are the relations between mobile greenery application and thermal comfort in public squares? how to optimize use of high greenery to achieve UTCI comfort. Can counteracting heat island be a threat to the functional space of the city squares? And on the end, how to deal with the different types of public squares to keep their function and to increase its thermal comfort. Next, please. And we formulate a hypothesis. The resilience of a public space in the protected heritage areas to the heat island effect depends on rationalizing its thermal efficiency in relation to the possibility of using the space itself. Focus on our method, we need the two group of data. First one is the basic spatial data, I mean public space area and existing greenery, and especially the green cover area. And the next group of data is all factors related with UTCI data. And with these two components, we was trying to create data to optimize the use of public space with a reduced heat island effect.
Okay, can you hear me? You can hear me. As my colleague said previously, we are using the UTCI simulation and data to quantify the effects of the heat island and the comforts of staying on those squares. We choose the UTCI index because it seems to be the most reliable, and because it's taking all of those aspects into itself. So when we are using the UTCI index, we can be sure that we are already speaking about such things as air temperature, wind influence, humidity, exposure to the sun, the position of the examined person, physical activity of such person, and the style of the dress. So it's very comprehensible, and it really encapsulates the whole problem. So while we are talking about UTCI, we are really talking about the way we feel the outside temperature and the outside comfort. So our method is based on UTCI, and the data that we took onto is, first of all, the research field or the research physical area, the three public squares, which we'll show in a moment in the Kazimierz district. It's Wolnica Square, Nowy Square, and Szeroka Street. And the weather data that we are using are the STAT and EPW files gathered by the Cracow-Balice airport. So the hypothetical person that we've chosen to conduct the simulation, first of all, is standing. So this is the position of our choosing. It does not squat, it does not sit, it does not lie down. All of those things are very, very important and are considered while simulating the UTCI index. It does not conduct any physical activity, so it does not walk, it does not run, it just stands. And it stands to the relation to the sun at the angle of 135, so it's sharp 135. It says a lot about the relative position to the sun. It's very natural position when we are trying to avoid being blinded by the sunlight. The absorption is the value taken into account the energy absorption, and it takes into consideration the color of the skin, the color of the clothing, and so on and so forth. So it tells us how much of the energy produced by the sun and by the environment is actually kept within the person. So we're at the 0.6, which is white skin and light clothes, and the height of the examined person is 1.8 meter. The research is carried out by the hottest week and the analyzed database. So it's August 17 to August 23rd, and the hottest hour, which is 2 p.m. on August 20th. The mobile greenery that we've chosen is the Robinia pseudoacacia. It's the small tree That's crown diameter is 5 meters. We've chose this because it's very popular tree to use in such manner. It's very easy to propagate, and it can be used as a mobile greenery. It does not need big soil to grow its roots. So we've conducted, first of all, the simulation for the whole district, just to pick and choose those 3 squares where the problem is big and is complicating the life of tourists, of people that are living there. So we've chosen, as I said before, the Różnica Square, the Nowy Square, and the Szeroka streets, which are big spaces, usually without greenery, that are suffering from the huge heat island problem. And we've conducted then the simulations strictly for each of those squares separately for existing situations. So how does it look now with the existing greenery, buildings, and so on and so forth, for the hot week, for the hot hour, and for the hot hour category. So it's the categorization of the space, of the squares, judging by the category of the UTCI. So the 5th category is extremely hot, the 4th category is very hot, 3rd is hot, and so on and so forth, while the 0 or the neighbors of the 1 is something, it's a situation that does not pose any thermal stress on users. So here we try to compare those actions with mobile greenery, and here we have the hot week and the design hot week, where the big circles are the existing greenery with a huge canopy, and those smaller circles are the mobile greenery that we are trying to use and see their effect. And here's the hot hour and the design hot hour. Here we can clearly see the usage of even the shadows near the buildings. And how big of an effect does give us those big groups of existing big trees. They're able to bring down the temperatures for even 20 degree down, while the smaller trees are only acting as a very point action. So only where the shadow exists, it really does bring down the temperature, but just one step in each other direction, it's actually still pretty hot. So we can clearly see this also in the categories. In the left side, in the existing situation, we've got the 5th category of the in the very center of the square. While at the left situation, we see that we got rid of the 5th category, and we've conducted those experiments and simulations for all the other squares. For example, now in the Nowy Square, we can already see that we've got that we've reduced this 5th category really significantly, but we also see that those small trees does not bring down the temperature on the average in sufficient level to be using this as the main tool of bringing down the heat island effect, as opposed to the few trees with the big canopies. So probably it's a research gap that we would like to continue and to check how closely these trees should be to themselves to actually create place, the spot, the space that would be much more comfortable to be with. So to bring closer all of those research, here's a data that we've conducted from our simulations, and here we can see that actually on average we were able to bring down the temperature and measure of 0.5 degrees Celsius to maximum 1.5 degrees Celsius on average. So it's not that much, it's not that significant, but it is worth conducting future experiments. That's all from us. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. To be honest, I had no conscience to interrupt such a interesting speech, but thank you. All of you. It was very inspiring and very interesting time. I hope it will be very fruitful in the future.
I hope so too.
And now I would like to invite you for a 10 minutes break, and then we will continue. Thank you very much. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.